Ready or Not is a pulse-pounding gothic horror about a blushing bride who marries into a massive gaming empire, only to find herself trapped in a deadly game of survival where hide and seek is a ritual hunt and her new in-laws are the predators. Before we continue, here is a quick reminder to subscribe and turn on the notification so you don't miss our next recap. Two boys race through a dark, wood-paneled hallway. The older boy, Daniel, breathes heavily as he shoves his younger brother, Alex, into a closet. He tells him to stay quiet and not come out. A man in a tuxedo staggers toward them, clutching his side. He begs Daniel for help. Behind him, a woman in a terrifying mask appears, clutching a long, sharp antique weapon. She doesn't hesitate. She hurls the weapon, pinning the man to a door. This is how the Le Domas family handles their guests. 30 years later, the mood is much lighter. Grace stands in a beautiful white wedding dress. She stares at her reflection. She's about to marry Alex, the heir to a massive gaming empire. They stand at the altar of the family's sprawling estate. Alex looks nervous. Grace looks happy. She grew up in foster homes and finally feels like she has a real family. The ceremony is perfect, but the atmosphere at the reception is strange. Alex's father, Tony, looks at Grace like she's a target. His mother, Becky, is more welcoming, but there's a coldness in her eyes. The family calls their business a dominion. It's built on board games and playing cards. Later that night, the couple retreats to their room. Grace is ready to relax, but Alex looks pale. He tells her there's one more tradition. Every time someone new joins the family, they have to play a game at midnight. It sounds harmless. Grace laughs it off. She thinks it's a quirky rich people thing. She follows him down to the music room. The entire family is waiting. Tony, Becky, the alcoholic brother Daniel, and the sister Emily. Daniel's wife, Charity, and Emily's husband, Fitch. Even the terrifying Aunt Helen is there, staring with unblinking eyes. Tony explains the family history. Generations ago, their ancestor Victor met a man named Mr. LaBelle on a ship. Mr. LaBelle offered a deal. He would fund Victor's business if Victor could solve a puzzle box. Victor succeeded. Now, the family honors that deal. They place a blank card into the same mysterious box. Grace reaches in. She pulls the card out. It says, "Hide and seek." The room goes dead silent. The air gets heavy. Tony forces a quick smile and tells Grace she has a head start. She has until the count of 100 to hide. She leaves the room, thinking this is just a game. Meanwhile, the family begins their preparation. This isn't a normal version of the game. Tony opens a hidden compartment. It is filled with antique weapons. Crossbows, old rifles, and sharp blades. Aunt Helen grabs a heavy axe. They aren't looking for Grace to find her. They are looking to take her out. Tony reminds them of the rules. No security cameras. No modern technology. They must follow the tradition exactly as it was written. If they don't eliminate Grace before the sun rises, they believe the entire family will be terminated by Mr. LaBelle. Grace wanders into the dark halls of the estate. She finds a service elevator, called a dumbwaiter, and climbs inside. She sits there for a while, waiting for the game to start. Eventually, she grows bored and tired of waiting in the cramped space. She decides to climb down and leave her hiding spot. As she moves through the hallway, Alex finds her. He looks terrified. He quickly pulls her under a large table to hide because they hear someone approaching. It is one of the maid, Clara. Suddenly, a shot is fired at her. Emily had accidentally shot her, thinking it was Grace. Grace watches in horror from under the table. She sees the red liquid pooling on the floor. At this exact moment, Grace realizes the truth. This isn't a quirky tradition. It is an actual hunt. After this realization, Alex finally informs her about what is really happening. He explains the curse of Mr. LaBelle. He tells her that if the family does not sacrifice her before the sun rises, they believe they will all be dispatched by the supernatural benefactor. Grace is absolutely furious. She realizes her husband brought her into a death trap. Alex promises to help her escape. He tells her to head toward the service passage while he goes to the security room to disable the electronic locks on the doors. Grace moves cautiously through the narrow service passage. She passes the dumbwaiter again. She spots another maid hiding in the shadows. The maid is trembling with fear. Grace tries to be kind. She tells the woman not to be scared. She explains that the family isn't looking for the help, they are looking for her. This backfires instantly. The maid begins to yell at the top of her lungs for the family to come find Grace. In a sudden twist of fate, the dumbwaiter mechanism is triggered. The heavy lift drops and crushes the maid instantly, silencing her screams. Grace finds a weapon and arms herself. She continues toward the foyer. She is desperate to find an exit. Suddenly, she spots the butler, Stevens. Grace points the weapon at the butler and pulls the trigger, but nothing happens. The weapon is not real. Stevens lunges at her, and Grace fights with everything she has. She manages to grab a heavy object nearby and strikes Stevens across the head. The family realizes that Grace is aware of all that's going on and that Alex is helping her. They find Alex and keep him chained. Grace keeps running. She finds her way out of the main house and into an old animal shed on the property. While searching for a way out, she discovers a deep, hidden pit. She looks down and sees the skeletal remains of previous initiates who lost the game. The sight is sickening. While she is reeling from the discovery, she sees Emily's son, Georgie, hiding in the shed. She thinks the boy is innocent and hasn't been corrupted by the family. She moves toward him to comfort him, but the Le Domas blood runs deep. Georgie pulls out a small weapon and fires. The projectile hits Grace right in the hand. Pain flares through her arm. Grace realizes even the children are out to get her. She doesn't hold back. She strikes the boy, knocking him out, and flees the shed. Now, she heads for the massive iron fence that surrounds the estate. She climbs the sharp spikes, tearing her dress and skin, and drops down onto the other side. She thinks she is finally free. She reaches the main road. It's dark and empty. A car approaches. Grace waves her arms, desperate for help. The car slows down. The driver looks at her, and instead of helping, the driver speeds off. Grace curses the world. She sees another car. It's the butler, Stevens. Grace hides in the trees, but he spots her. A chase ensues through the woods. He eventually catches up to her, overpowers her, and knocks her out. He tosses her into the back of the vehicle. Stevens calls the family to let them know. He turns on loud classical music to celebrate his success. Grace wakes up. She sees her chance. She lunges from the backseat and attacks Stevens while he is driving. The car swerves violently and crashes into a massive tree. Grace crawls out of the smoking wreckage, bruised and bloody. She tries to vanish into the deep woods. She thinks she has escaped again, but she runs right into Daniel. Daniel looks at her with a mix of pity and resolve. He doesn't let her go this time. He knocks her out. When she finally opens her eyes, she is tied up. She is sitting in the center of a dark ritual circle in the music room. The family is gathered around her. They are dressed in ceremonial robes, holding candles. Tony leads the final prayer. He speaks of the debt owed to Mr. LaBelle. They have a ceremonial bowl ready for her blood. The family begins to drink, and as Tony is about to kill Grace, they start coughing and retching. Daniel has secretly poisoned the drinks with a cleaning chemical. Turns out he's been fighting his conscience lately. Daniel moves quickly to untie Grace. He tells her to run while they are distracted. But his wife, Charity, sees the betrayal. She is not willing to give up her wealth. She pulls out a small weapon, but Daniel stands in the way and is hit. Grace screams as her only protector falls. She grabs a heavy piece of furniture and strikes Charity, sending her to the floor. Grace runs out. Suddenly, Alex appears. He looks at his dying brother and something sparks inside him. Grace bolts for the hallway, but Becky is waiting for her. The two women enter a life-or-death struggle. Becky is strong and determined to save her family. They trade blows until Grace finds a heavy award statue. She uses it to strike Becky repeatedly until the woman is eliminated. Grace stands over her, gasping for air. Alex enters. The grief and the fear of the dawn consume him. He realizes that if Grace doesn't die, he will. He turns on her. He pins her down and calls for his father. Tony and the surviving family members drag Grace back to the stone altar. They hold her down. They are in a state of pure panic as dawn draws closer. Tony begins the final chant to complete the sacrifice. Grace struggles against their grip. Just as the blade begins to descend, Grace bites down on Aunt Helene's hand. She yells and lets go. The blade misses her heart and stabs the wooden table. The family scrambles to grab her again, but the sun finally breaks over the horizon. A beam of light hits the floor. Everyone stops. They wait to explode. A few seconds pass in silence. Nothing happens. Fitch starts to laugh hysterically. He mocks the legend. He thinks they are safe and the curse was a myth. Aunt Helene is still determined to complete the sacrifice, but suddenly she pops. She explodes into a cloud of red mist. One by one, the family members begin to burst. Grace laughs as Fitch, Charity, Emily, the kids, and Tony are eliminated in a series of messy explosions. Only Alex remains. He tries to apologize. He tells her he's not like the others. Grace looks at him with cold eyes. She pulls off her wedding ring and tosses it at him. At that moment, Alex sparks and explodes. Grace looks Mr. LaBelle's figure sitting in a chair. She walks out the front doors as the Le Domas mansion is consumed by fire. She sits on the steps and lights a cigarette. The police pull up to the scene. A confused officer asks her what happened. Grace takes a puff of her cigarette and simply replies, "In-laws." She watches as the fire erases the Le Domas dominion forever. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification to watch more videos like this.